Rory, there was a lot of talk yesterday about putting the new putter in play and maybe a new shaft in your driver. How much of that had to do with your play recently, and how much of that has to do with getting ready for Augusta?
I think just has to do with my play. I think it's funny. I think it's hard because you look at strokes gained off the tee, and you would think that I'm driving the ball well, or I have been driving the ball well. But then you look at my driving accuracy, and it's down around like 50%, which is quite low for me. So, strokes gains, and I'm hitting the ball a long way. So strokes gain maybe overvalues length sometimes depending on the course. So I knew I just needed to change it up a bit, and going back to a driver length that I'm a little more comfortable with. But the thing is, going to a 44-inch driver with the previous shaft I was using, it was too stiff and I just couldn't spin it. So I needed to go to a slightly softer shaft, and I can hit more shots with it and feel a bit more comfortable, sort of playability wise. So it was good to see. It was good to, put it in play today and have it perform pretty well. Drove it well, especially on the back nine. It's obviously this part of the season, you've got, one eye on what you're doing right now and one eye on Augusta. So it's sort of trying to do both.
What are your expectations? How do you manage them at an event like this, at a format like this, compared with a regular?
Yeah, go out and play solid, and I think it was good today. I had to respond a couple of times to what Scott did on the back nine, so it was nice to sort of feel that little bit of pressure and have to hit a shot or have to make a putt or something like that. On a way, yeah, but especially with, for example, a new putter in the bag and just sort of getting comfortable with that, and so. It was good. It was solid. I made 6 birdies and 1 bogey, and I played solid today.
Is the putter a replica? Is that right of what you used to use in 2011?
Pretty much. It just it has a line on the line on the top, just on the top line instead of on the flange. It's basically the same, but it's
What happened to that old putter then?
I think my dad has it. I don't know. Yeah, I think my dad has it somewhere. And they made me one back in 2016 when Nike got out of the equipment business. Whenever we all sort of were figuring out what to do, which was an exact replica. But I just think with what I'm trying to do with lining the ball up, the line on the top instead of the line on the flange just matches up a little bit better for me. So
Augusta last week, there's some reports that you burned it up, and somebody said you had 19 putts in a round. Is that true? Or?
Yeah, I had 2 good days. I had 2 good days. We played 54 holes in 2 days, and it was good, and I was really happy with where my game was, and it was sort of good to see that after struggling at the Players.
What do you make of 13 then?
13's. I think overall it's a little like 11 in terms of the change. I think they've made the tee shot easier because you don't really have to do anything with the tee shot anymore. You don't have to turn it. You just hit it sort of straight up the chute. But then the second shot's much more difficult. A little bit like 11. The second shot on 11 is much more difficult now with how they've contoured the front of the green. It's just, I used to hit an 8 iron from a flat lie into 13, and now I hit a 5 iron from the ball way above my feet. So it just makes you think a little bit more about the second shot, which I think is good.
Rory, you talked about the ball and Augusta. If Augusta if they went to the reduced flight ball, what holes do you think would be most affected by the reduced? Would it be on the back nine somewhere, or where do you think would be most affected with a reduced flight ball at Augusta?
I think, personally for me, I wouldn't be able to carry the bunker on 1. I wouldn't be able to carry the bunker on 2. I'm able to carry both those bunkers. Couldn't drive it on the 3rd green. I can drive it on the 3rd green at the minute. So it's like, there's a lot of holes that would be affected. Again, for me, it's like, it's trying to just keep the integrity of what the game was supposed to be. And, when this game was invented, and obviously innovation happens, but I don't think people imagined golf the way pros play the game right now, right? I think it's just got a little... I'd love to see just a little more versatility put back into the game, and I think that's what this change would ultimately do.
would you have to come to Augusta with a new game plan? If that was the case, would you have to go maybe, you know, and figure out a new game plan for
Not
you?
really. It would be like me going back to my 2015 equipment. I've gained 16 yards in the last 6 or 7 years, and they're saying that it's sort of 15. You know, it's basically a 15 to 20 yard reduction in distance if you hit the ball at the speeds that I hit it. So, you know, it would just be like me playing golf again in 2015, and I seemed to do okay then. So.
All right, well, Richard, come and Todd, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rory.